approve the letter for the chairman's signature, second by Ellie. All in favor? Opposed, same, motion carried. Okay, let's finish off with the vote to the shoreline. I need a motion to accept the tally, motion by Martin to accept the tally and appoint Mark McDonald as the non-member and Jewel Brueggemann as the tribal member for the shoreline board board vacancies. Second by Mike, all in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carried. Okay, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and break for lunch. Be back here at
1:15.
1:15. All right.
And I'm adding one more thing to council. It's gonna be just a quick one. It's that guy over there. It's for Arlie Powell. They just need a contract bond approved so they can finish their work. Okay.
Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. So who do we have here next? Mr. Kyle. Good afternoon, Kyle.
No, yeah, glad I was able to get in today. We just figured we would try to at least get the modification for this task order 11 in for Arley Power Grounds. A little bit of context, it's a modification in price, but not in scope. So with the original task order we submitted, the only things we had numbers for at the time were like one or two different line items. And, working with the contractors in the last couple of weeks, we were able to finally gather, majority of the numbers we need to execute the line items that are actually on the task order. So I guess what we're requesting is a modification to add 288,320.25 cents to task order 11 for Arley Power Grounds. So bringing the new value of the task order total up to $369,083.67. And if I scroll down here,
Well, so there was not a new task order? Or just in addition to the price of the?
just pricing, yeah. So I'll explain that here. It's easier to see it. So here's the scope of the task order. So all the bolded line items there are ones that we have prices for that we're adding the price to the current task order. So the scope right there, all these were included in the original task order, but the ones that are highlighted right there, they didn't have price items attached because at the time we signed it, we didn't have any numbers in yet. So now that we have all the numbers basically packaged together, we're requesting the price increase to incorporate those new numbers, if that makes sense. Yes.
Yes, Carol.
So when you originally put it out to bid, so there wasn't even a concept of that it could be this much? 'Cause you
Not a-
put- you
yeah.
Put 80,000 in there. I mean, that's quite a difference. So, Mr. Chairman, I think Abby needs to make sure we get a clear explanation that it really wasn't an increase because we're still gonna do these. We just needed to get the pricing.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, language could have been incorporated to specify that from the beginning. I know what you're saying. Yeah. So that it doesn't look like we're coming back for a $280,000 change order. That's not what it is. Yeah. And then I guess the reason to rush that from the beginning was just to put something in place so that we could start work. I mean, the timeline wasn't obviously in our favor. So yeah. Yeah, it's a good point though.
Any other questions? So once approved, what's next?
I believe it'll be forwarded, to like contracts and grants to be fished through the signature process. And then that way, once it's signed and fully executed, that'll allow us to bill for it once, whatever billing cycle is, is what we agreed on. So, yeah.
So we're on the time schedule then?
Yeah, actually, it's looking really good right now. As far as I know, the concession stand rough framing should be complete today so that the tradesmen, like electrical, plumbing, and, a few of the HVAC guys can get in there and start retrofitting everything out. And then I think for the big arbor, they're actually the roofing company that we hired is down there today sealing up the big arbor. We got pavement scheduled, I believe, for mid-June, which that should go fairly quick. And what else have we got? Bathroom buildings are looking good. The card room's gonna get new lights. The, both the stick game and main pavilion got new LED lights. So yeah, things are looking a lot better than they were a month and a half ago.
Yeah, who's gonna do the final inspection?
We got a guy named, Mike Hammerberg actually on contract to do both Arlie and Elmo. Sign off on kind of just the specs, making sure the outlets work, making sure lighting works, you know, making sure things are up to code, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay. So you just need a council action to approve the modification.
Yes, correct. From the specified values on here.
Okay, motion by Carol, second by Jimmy. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carried. All right, thanks, Kyle. And then as for Elmo, any updates on Elmo?
So we got one guy that's interested in doing demolition right now, and he said he should be able to fit in with the timeline. I just haven't had the chance to physically type up a statement of work yet, so I gotta go back and do that and get it out to him, make sure it lines up with, the scope that, council and everybody's agreed on, so. But from my understanding, the right was we want to demo it and at least have that ground right there usable, correct?
Yeah,
Because do you want to eventually put the tent right there for this year? And then,
that's
Okay,
gonna be the.
that's what I thought, yeah,
Can
got
be
a note,
intent.
so.
And then the other change there was we were going to pave the road, the perimeter road around the Powell grounds.
Correct.
That was gonna be added to the scope of work.
Yes, and that'll be included in the next mod if the contractor, Smith Paving can do it. They're actually, I think tomorrow we're going up to assess the condition of the main road, the perimeter road, to see how much work is gonna be involved in actually paving. And they said if it's good enough to where they don't have to do too much, like dirt moving and excavation in order to level it and stuff, it should be doable, but I should have an answer early next week, whether or not that addition is doable within the contractor's timeline. But the initial request should be good to go. That's locked in as far as paid the extra paths and stuff we requested from the beginning.
Okay, and then the first aid building. I know there was different ideas about how we were gonna do that, but I was kind of looking at purchasing one of those small sheds, like the one across from SK Technologies. So,
Oh, you like the prefabricated, they're already made.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I think that's for the sake of time on just trying to get a first aid station set up.
Yeah.
I think we should look at getting one of those set up out there.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, at that point, the only thing you would need is if you still want to put a pad in, I guess, but
Yeah. and
level
then
pad for the
being
foundation.
able to plumb it and get all the
Yeah.
appropriate electricity out there.
Yeah, it's all doable. I mean, I've seen people turn those basically into tiny houses, so there's no reason it couldn't be a, a
That'd be
functional medical station. Yeah,
It'd be ideal.
yeah.
That, if you do that, can you keep the cost? Can you, keep it separate? So if we decide to do tiny houses, we kind of know what the cost of that is.
Oh, yeah, track
We're
it
gonna
all.
Insulate and then put water.
Yeah. If we furnish it, I can give a full itemized breakdown on what it would be to get it up to a point where it's like, fully furnished, I guess. Yeah. That's a good idea.
All right, any other questions, comments? Okay,
Good to go, huh?
go forth and do good things.
Yeah, we'll keep pushing. Yeah. We've got a couple other things coming up. We'll be able to get some good updates on here in the next couple of weeks too. So,
Okay, thanks, Kyle.
yeah, lem, Susukini.
Yeah, I've got a good point. $80,000 is 300. Big shock.
Yeah, it is. Is next on the agenda?
Melinda, and she's on Zoom.
Who?
Linda Charlo, she's on Zoom.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Melinda.
So my presentation starts on page 31, and I'm here to ask for approval for a project-specific agreement between CSKT and Montana Department of Transportation. This one's for a project that they have that's called Bridge Underwater Inspection Term Contracts for 2022 through 2024. So there's 5 bridges that are included on this contract, but 3 of them are located on the reservation. They have a list, there's a list on page 32 of all those bridges. And then so the bridges that we have on the reservation are Sloan's, a bridge that goes over Mission Creek kind of near the Bison Range, and then the Perma Bridge. And then
Alright.
this is just a they use like certified divers with a group of engineers that do the inspection.
How often do they do the inspections, do you know, Melinda?
I'm not entirely sure. We actually just did another one like a year ago where they did Polson Bridge. So I'm not entirely sure how they figure out when they need to do, how far apart they do the inspections.
Okay,
Motion to
questions? Terry?
approve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do they inspect those bridges that the railroads go over as part of this project at any time?
This particular one is only those bridges. Those other ones, they might come back on another contract and inspect. Usually the ones that MDT does are any bridges that are on highways. Yeah, so that's why these ones are on here. These are highway bridges.
Any other comments, questions? Is there a motion? Motion by Ellie, second by Martin. All in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carried. All right, Melinda.
All right, and is Tom there, or I need a signature. So Evelyn's there. She has the signature page. So if you can sign it for me, Len.
Okay, bring it on up. We'll get it taken care of.
All right, yeah, there she is. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Melinda. Keep up the
Yep.
good work.
Yep, thank you.
All right, thanks, Ab.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving right along. Carrie. And I believe Jen emailed us the information on that separately from the agenda. Good afternoon, Carrie.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman and Council. Yeah, I apologize on the late forms. Most of them you've already seen the draft versions of, but yeah, for some reason they didn't upload correctly, and so she wasn't able to get them to you guys till this morning. My section begins on page 39 in your packets. And we have a few things. I wanted to update you on the comment periods for the draft plan and regulations I brought in last month. The first one is the chronic wasting disease surveillance and emergency response plan. And nothing has changed in here since the draft version. And the comment period was up for 31 days, and I didn't receive any comments for that. I did receive quite a few folks interested in reading it, but I didn't receive any comments during that comment period. And I believe that closed last Thursday at 5:30.
You presented to both elders committees.
I did to the Kootenai Culture Committee, but I never received response from the Salish. And I think I reached out 4 or 5 different times, and they did get the draft version.
Okay.
And I did let them know, when the comment period would be, and let them know I'd give them a presentation if needed to, so.
Okay, Yeah, I think in the future, let's just go ahead and plan on and giving them presentations on these types of issues.
Yeah, and I reached out back in March and tried to both all March and April get on their agenda, but never heard back from the Salish Culture Committee. But I was able to, I think in April, get to the Kootenai.
Okay. Right.
Um,
So what was the, did you have any significant changes or anything on this other than from our last discussion?
nope,
You just need approval from council to,
correct, yep. And then with that, I had a resolution, which is on page 40, just the adopting of the plan there.
on page 40. Yes, Carol.
Yeah, why is there just, parts of the reservation that have the data collecting just because of the size and you need to select an area to get,
Oh, like
to
the
get the
priority
radius,
areas?
to get the data collected?
Yeah, so the wildlife management units are broken down in shaded different colors, and we're focusing on those shaded ones initially, because we're prioritizing those wildlife management units because they're within 40 miles of an already known CWD source.
Okay.
And so we want to make sure that, because it could be coming from that direction and our herds are already kind of interchanging, that we want to just prioritize those.
Okay.
But we will be, opportunistically taking samples from all of them as hunters bring those in for sure.
Yes, Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have we had any cases yet of CWD?
Not here, on the reservation. We have had, some, like I said, up in kind of the Libby area, not any that we've sampled, but there have some through the state that have come in up there, so we know it's close. There was one, that was harvested, off reservation that was brought back on the reservation last year, that the sample did come back positive. But we, worked with that person and they had disposed of the carcass at a transfer station. And so, and kind of handled that well. He just let us know that his results came back in positive, and so we will really watch that area too. But it sounds like there wouldn't have been a big exposure risk with that one because he'd harvested off reservation in an area that was positive. And when he got his animal tested, it did show that it was. Yeah, on, I believe that first section, so you can't test it externally, so you have to test a lymph node, to tell whether it, definitively has it or not. They can have CWD for at least 16 months before they start to show symptoms. So they can be infected for quite a while, passing that on in the landscape. But that's why the testing and the monitoring before we find it is really important so that we know as soon as possible. Because there are animals that are infected can persist for quite a while before they show symptoms. But when they do show symptoms, they'll be drooling, their heads and ears will be really droopy. There'll be excessive thirst and really emaciated, very skinny. A lot of times you'll see the ribs and kind of the hip bones coming out of there. It's neurological, so they'll kind of not be really aware of their surroundings also.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes, Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know most of this occurs in deer, but you say, is there any of this in the bighorn sheep down in the plains area?
Yeah, so far it hasn't been detected in, other ungulates like bighorn sheep or mountain goats, but definitely with whitetail, mule deer, elk, and moose is what it's presented in. And it hasn't been in reindeer, but so.
Okay, really appreciate the studies that you've been doing on this, and I know in the future, as we get close to hunting season, we should probably get more education out there to the membership and let them know, because we are gonna be setting up check stations, correct, to be for monitoring this. Is that gonna be in the plan?
Yeah, we were able to do once a month last year with our staff. And I've got another one of my items is we're submitting for a proposal for next year that will allow us to hire some seasonal staff to run some check stations throughout the week and as well as kind of build that capacity to be able to go out and do some testing and we do have plans to do different community this summer with that grant, to do some summer community events outreach where we'll take a kind of scaled down presentation version of the presentation I showed last time and kind of get that to the public and the membership and answer questions and, you know, get fields, those hunter those CWD hunter kits out to folks as well.
Okay, thank you. So there is a resolution there for council's consideration. If you all had to take a chance to look at it, I need a motion to approve. Motion by Martin,
Question.
second by Mike, question by Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Was there a discussion about the elk female hunting season being moved back to middle of August?
No, so and that would be in the regulations part. But no, we kept that the same this year. The hope is that, you know, by emphasizing through the Berry Basin hunt that, you know, in the regulations, we clarified that if you are hunting for a bull with your permit or with your tag, that you are also harvest an elk, a cow elk that doesn't fill that tag so that you can take as many cows. They're unlimited out of there. And so we're hoping that that encourages folks to start taking some cows out of there without, it's difficult to get hunters to hunt the cows. Everyone wants the bulls. And so, you know, without permit or without giving permits just for cows in that area, it's really hard to kind of.
The problem that we're facing is on these depredations on these ranches, those elk are coming in August. And we get calls, but we can't shoot any females. And it doesn't accomplish anything to shoot bulls because the cows are the ones that are in there.
Yeah, and that's why not just with elk, but with a lot of our ungulate species, we're really focusing on outreach for, you know, removing the females, the does and the cows. We've been pushing that pretty hard the last 3 or 4 years. And, you know, we're still, when we do get CWD samples, they're mostly male. We might get a female coming through here or there. So that is a part of the community events that we'll be putting on. We'll really be emphasizing the need for pulling some of those females out to bring
We're
those
gonna be faced
populations
with
down
that
as
problem
well.
this August. When these ranchers are calling, there's 200 to 300 head of elk on their
Yeah,
place, and yet we can't do anything about it.
And we've got a program where, you know, hunters can go out, and then we're, again, part of the grant that we're putting together will hopefully help us hire on some additional staff that will be able to respond to some of those depredation conflicts. But yeah, right now, there wasn't any definitive conversation to change that date.
Okay, well, it's gonna be a problem.
Yes, Carol.
So did you discuss the date? Did you say that? Did you say it was discussed?
Yeah, I talked with Whisper about it when it was brought up last time, and we decided to just keep it as it is and look at using kind of internal methods to try to get at some of that depredation in those areas for the time being.
All right, I have a motion on the floor to approve a resolution. All in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carried. All right. One opposed, Terry. Sorry, I missed that, Terry. Okay, next item.
Okay, I'm just making some notes. And the next one I've got is just the final approval of the regulations. And I think in the packet, they might have been down towards the bottom. And so I didn't print all of them off, so I'm not sure which page. Oh, perfect. So this one here, the Bighorn sheep regulations for the 2023. We had the draft, and so for all of the ones that we'll present, nothing has changed in these versions from the draft that we brought in pre-comment period. And then we had it open for 31 days, the comment period on these, and didn't receive any comments. And I don't think we had anyone request to review them. And then we had the advertisements in the local papers and had them put out through the intranet as well. And then, so with this one, again, we really just tried to emphasize the chronic wasting disease management, just to, again, not because they're a huge concern with bighorn sheep, but to just increase that awareness out there. And then we did put the, I think, bear spray information at the end as well.
Any questions, comments? Yes, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Carrie, in the elk regulations, page 1, there's a typo right at the bottom.
On the elk regulations,
Yeah, on page 1, it says tribal member hunters.
Good catch. Good catch.
oh,
Hunter-
without an H.
Hunters.
Okay.
There's hunters and hunters out there.
And that, so I'll make sure to put an H in there. Thank you for catching that.
So you're looking for a motion to approve the 2023 bighorn sheep hunting regulations on the Flathead Indian Reservation.
Correct, yep.
Motion by Mike. Second by Bing. Any further questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next is the Ferry Basin elk regulations. And again, both the bighorn sheep and the Ferry Basin elk didn't have specific season or harvest quotas in the regulations. And that's something that we'll also be presenting later today, is to show you the results of the survey for bighorn sheep and then set those as well. But again, so with Ferry Basin, we are with the elk, we are requesting the same amount of permits for bulls as last year, and so we'll have 30 of those draws for the lottery.
Okay,
And again, in those regulations, we made sure to emphasize that the cow season is unlimited in that area.
the cow season is unlimited. Okay.
Yep.
And also notes in there the dates that tribal members can access Ferry Basin during antler collection season.
I don't think we have antler collection in these. They're in the regular regulations.
Okay,
They're in that booklet. And so, yeah, these ones were just tiered off for that specific Ferry Basin hunt.
okay. Motion by Martin to approve the 2023 Ferry Basin elk management hunt regulations with corrections. Second by Ellie. Questions, comments, all in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right, moving right
All
along.
right, thank you. And so then the next one we've got is the moose regulations for this year. And
Any changes, any substantial changes on that?
nope, the only thing from last year that was updated in this year's draft was just the inclusion of CWD and then the bear spray cans at the end.
Okay, and is it mandatory for?
Oh, there is one other change in here. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
So the other change was to have hunters that fill a moose tag, bring in proof of sex of the carcass or of the animal so that we can, check off that, yes, it was a male or an antlered moose that was harvested, just because we did have incident last year, or I guess this season, where there was a potential cow poaching case off the reservation. And we did have a tribal member hunters turn in a report from that area, showing that, yes, they turned in their permit saying that they filled an antlered bull, but we didn't, because we don't see the actual evidence that it was a male, we couldn't definitively say that, well, they turned in a permit for a male. We're assuming they harvested a male, but just in order to alleviate that situation or confusion in the future, that, if as hunters fill those tags, when they return their tag to us, just have that proof of either the head or the testicles there to prove that it was a male that was harvested, so that we can just protect our hunters in the future, so that there's no question on whether or not a male was harvested or
What about
not.
a picture on their phone?
Yeah, that would work too.
Or our Facebook picture?
Yeah, and that's what we ended up using to verify that it was a male this time, was a Facebook photo. But we wanted to make sure to protect our hunters in the future,
Nope,
in case there was a scenario like that we are asking for hunters to just bring that in so that we can verify that it was male.
All right, very good. Any other questions, comments? I need a motion to approve the 2023 moose hunting regulations. Motion by Mike. Second by Ellie. Questions, comments, all in favor? Opposed, same. And motion carries.
Thank you. And then the last regulation I have is the wolf member hunting or the wolf member trapping regulations. And nothing has changed in these regulations from last year's.
Did anybody fill their tag last year?
We didn't have any brought in, no. I'm not sure how many permits we had go out, thinking it was at least 200 permits requested, but we didn't have any filled or brought in.
I just wondering, 'cause I know we have traps up in Lozo. Question, comments? Motion to approve the 2023 wolf hunting trapping regulations on the Flathead Indian Reservation. Motion by Ellie, second by Bing. All in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carried.
All righty. And then I do have a collection permit to present as well, and I can't remember which order this was in on the packet.
Let's see, the first one I have is Madeline Jackson.
Yep. And I think on there, just the proposal was uploaded, but yeah, we were able to send the actual permit for folks to look at. And so this is earlier this year, I brought in a University of Montana project for out on not the Bison Range, the Buffalo Bridge area. They're doing the sampling of hantavirus in small mammals. So they were doing some small mammal trapping along the river out by Buffalo Bridge. And so this project, that professor now has a master's student who is going to be building off of that research and looking at the co-infection and transmission rates of hantavirus between the different species of wild deer mouse, or just wild deer mouse populations. And then they're going to mark if they opportunistically catch other species, just to kind of, and then with a little ear tag and re-release them, just to kind of do some recapture methoding to see, kind of how that interspecies infection, is. Yeah. Yeah. And they do make them. Yeah, they're very tiny. But they can, they'll put a little, just like with the bears, they have the green ear tag. They've got them for mice that they can put on so that they know if they recapture that one, later on in the season. And so with this project, they will, and they've got kind of a 3-day, or maybe it's a 4, I think it was a 3-day trapping, period. And so they need to do that for, May through August. And so they'll be out there most of this season for 3 days a month. And then I did let them know about the, accessing of tribal, land, that they need to get that recreation permit for it.
Okay. I know in the past when we've approved these collection permits, it seems like council never gets a report on anything on the results, and NRD probably gets them, but we never see those, and I mean, at least for me, I would like to see what the results of those, but anyway, just
Yeah.
wanted to mention that to you.
No, and yeah, thanks for reminding me, because last year I did, when I brought in the first collection permit of the year, I did do kind of a recap of all the data that we got from the year before.
And that would suffice too, Carrie.
And-
If you could do that for council, we would really
Yeah.
appreciate that also.
Yeah, I tried to kind of condense it into a form with just like a, update. And so I'll make sure to keep doing that in the future.
Okay.
Comment.
Yes, Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I was asked on that same line of thinking, why did we shut down the goat season? Based on what? They said, do we have data on that? And what's the projection of reopening of goat season?
The mountain goat.
Yes,
So the population that we have, in the missions was, really low. And so we have been monitoring that pretty close. Every 3, I think, years, we do a flight, up in the missions. And so we did do that this year. And, the population overall is still fairly low. We have seen a slight, increasing trend, but, the overall population, and we do work coordinate with the state, to kind of make sure that we're surveying both sides and getting the whole population. But yeah, it's definitely, it was shut down, for harvest due to the extremely low populations. And so we are working, with the state and monitoring that recovery or, their numbers, to make sure that, when they reach a certain threshold that would be huntable again, that we could open that back up. But, kind of their side and our side currently still, the populations haven't recovered enough to sustain a hunting, population.
so yeah, if you had that data, it'd be nice to look at that, because I was wondering, I don't know many tribal members that hunt goats, if that might be an impact from the other side of the mountains, those people coming up on our side, taking goats out.
With the recreation, or the impacts of recreation on the goats, or?
No, hunting. I just wondered why the numbers
Oh.
would be down on our side of on
Oh.
the reservation.
Yeah, and so they don't, so their hunting district, on that side, they don't have open either. The state doesn't have any hunting in the hunting districts around the reservation or that herd because of the low numbers too.
But they have had every year until you closed it here about 2 years ago.
I'm not sure when that closure went into place. When did closure occur? I'll look into that. But yeah, they did, I think, they did close the hunting district down due to those low populations too, so. And they won't reopen that until it's recovered.
Okay, I need a motion to approve a collection permit application for Madeline Jackson. Motion by Jennifer. Second by Ellie, all in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carried.
Awesome. And then I believe the next one is to set the bighorn sheep, oh, sorry. We'll set the bighorn sheep and Ferry Basin tag permits this year. So that the end of, I think mid-July is when we get those boxes out. And so we want to make sure that the quotas and everything are set on those. So for the Ferry Basin elk, we were proposing 30 of those bull permits. And we, oh golly, I was going to look to see how many were filled last year. We didn't have all of them filled and come back in, but we did have a fair few of those come back in. And then, let's see, and then with the bighorn sheep on our flight this year, every year we coordinate that with Fish, Wildlife and Parks because the herd, you know, is both off and on the reservation down in that Paradise Little Money area. And so we flew that with them this year. And the thing on your packet on page 42, we put together the results from that flight. And just a note that the total on the bottom of page 42 there should say 284, not 263. So when Kaylee was looking at that, she missed 2 lines of data on the bottom that weren't included in that. So the overall total is 284 in that herd, which puts it right around the same numbers last, or very similar to the numbers coming out from last year's flight counts. So the proposal this year is the same tags as last year with 6 rams and 3 ewes for CSKT.
Six rams, 3 ewes.
Correct. And then Kaylee was going to present how many were harvested last year, but she ended up needing to take leave and wasn't this afternoon and wasn't able to make it.
So you need council action acknowledging that there will be 6 rams and 3 ewes permits. for
Yeah,
2023.
just, yep, so for, the request for a council to set those quotas for this year's seasons. So it would be the quotas for this year, for the bighorn sheep hunt would be, within Little Money would be 6 rams and 3 ewes, and then for the Ferry Basin bull hunt, that would be 30 tags for that, for the quota.
Okay, motion by Martin to go with the recommendation of the quota for the Little Money management area to do 6 rams and 3 ewes quota. Second by Jennifer. Questions, comments? All in favor? Oppose? Opposed, same, motion carried.
Alrighty. And then for that, we'll be back in August to do the first week of August to do the drawing for those tags.
All right,
And
we're all
then,
looking forward to those.
and then finally, the fun one, we are proposing to submit a grant. So the chronic wasting disease plan that I presented earlier, that came out of, we got a grant last year to put together and help cover the cost of putting that plan together and getting those out this year. And so what we're hoping to do with that same grant this next year is to build off that and submit a proposal to, you know, because we have a lot of really great efforts in that plan, but we don't really have the capacity currently to fully implement it to the level that would be effective. And so with this next round of grant with the APHIS is to put in a proposal to cover 2 seasonal technicians and half of a biologist's time, and then we would cover the others, 1 additional seasonal technician and the other half of the biologist for that. And so what we'd be able to do with that grant would be able to create a team that would be able to respond with those seasonal folks to respond quickly to depredations and do some harvesting in those areas to reduce depredation pressure. And then also, you know, in that collecting those samples in some of those priority areas for chronic wasting disease. And so we'll be able to tie that, those activities into this grant. If we're able to get those additional employees there or additional seasonal employees there, and then those seasonal folks would also be implementing the hunter check stations and working with hunters in the field to collect some of those samples too.
Okay, so you need approval to apply for an APIS grant.
Correct, yep, and I believe the total amount of that was like 93,000 would be the total on that grant.
Okay, questions, comments? Is there a motion? Motion by Mike, second by Martin. Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed, same? Motion carries.
Awesome, and that was all I had for you guys
All right,
today.
Carrie, well, thank you. We always look forward to your presentations. They're always, yeah, they're just,
Yeah,
a lot of
and then,
good, a lot of good information.
oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
so we really
then-
appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you. Next time I'll make sure to do an update on those collection permits from last year too, so that you guys can see the data that came in then, so.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and especially the deer mice one too. We want to see how many mice they ear tagged.
Yeah.
Alright.
Perfect.
Yeah, we want a picture. We want
Of
pictures.
their earrings. Perfect.
Hey, you got a fun job, Carrie.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. I'm not sure, are they? Martin. Okay, let's go ahead and take a break. You can have a 25-minute break. How's that? 25 minutes. Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, let's just make it a 15-minute break and we'll come back and do the council updates. No.
You can have water sports too. The water polo. It even says. It's also stated in paperwork that they. 60 by 90. And it was the, the exterior of the building, asphalt. The court itself is to be lined at 5 feet in on each side where the actual hoops. And there was a 5-foot buffer all the way around it from the exterior to the baseline. Yeah, they were supposed to have the basement all the way around it, so that way. So, one bring you guys attention. We can talk about it too when it comes back to that. That house again. One very down, there's an pavement issue on it, it's supposed to come in the next city, we got it next week. And there's no one. But we were gonna bring it up again. The pavement was supposed to be done on the asphalt, tiles in there, in the ceiling, but like, so it still has to be abated. And we don't know where, there, we have to get that done. It's bad. Bad house. The problem is right now. Sarah got talked to about it, they didn't know who to call, so they called Sarah. Yesterday or the day off, she let me know. Kids are breaking into it again. We were over there last week and boarded it up. It's the third time in the last 2 months that we boarded it up. And they keep going in and tearing up plywood. That's the only thing we can do, but plywood it all back up. They pour it out and they're gonna get stuff all the way up. That's the problem. So that might be a discussion on for council to say this what needs to be done, get it done. But yeah, we got called on. We've been trying to keep that stuff locked up. That's where we're at on it, is where it was supposed to have been abated. That was going to reg economic development. Well, it's asbestos, and that's the thing, and that's why they won't do it. It's like, the last one that went through and environmental assessment one, P40 from the back from the 14. Yeah, and said, yeah, the original abatement was done on it, or even got out, not all of that came, not all of this, that's the title. So that's where it's at right now. So it still has to be finished abated. But no, I get where we're at. And then that also is with people's houses out there. Those are also supposed to be abated, but we went out, we were going to do the practice burns with Rodan, Charlotte, Holston, and Office. I will reach out to Keith. I think Keith was gonna go out again already. To back out over to John and them supposed to hire a lady to go check what needs to still be abated out at Dickey Works. They hired her last year. We got 2 of the 7 houses check, and the other ones were still pending. So we were only allowed to actually clean 2 of those sites. We have to get the other ones. But we were going to talk about that tonight. Like the railroads that we can yell at. Part about that, of the internet there. And my other question is about
Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. We'll stay in executive.